Welcome back to Squawk Box. In this COVID-19 era, companies, executives, and employees are all trying to navigate a lot of change, from the economic crisis this has become to the health crisis of remote work and everything in between. Our next guest is the author of Life is in the Transitions, Mastering Change at Any Age. Joining us right now is Bruce Feiler, and it's a fascinating book. I don't know if you were anticipating COVID, but life is in the transitions, and there's so many transitions that are taking place, Bruce, right now, between remote work, between people trying to figure out what the future holds for them, people losing their jobs and having to make those transitions. And I'm curious what the biggest lesson you discovered in your journey looking at transitions.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Andrew, and everybody else. And yes, we are in what I call a life quake, which is a massive period of change that has aftershocks for years. And I got interested in these periods because I went through a life quake. As you know, I had cancer. My family's real estate business was hit hard. My dad tried to take his own life. And there wasn't in one place, I couldn't find a book that helped you when you get hit by life in all these different directions. So I went out seeking wisdom from others. I crisscrossed the country, collecting hundreds of life stories from Americans of all 50 states. And then with a team of 12 people, I spent a year combing through these stories, looking for patterns that could help all of us. And what I learned is that the linear life of predictable stages that we were promised, that's gone. And it's been replaced by a nonlinear life, which has many more transitions in it. So I've been working on this book for 5 years, and as you mentioned, lo and behold, it arrives in this moment when all of us, every CEO, every executive, every employee is dealing with a transition. So the answer to your question of the most important thing is that learning to navigate these periods, learning to master transitions, is the most essential skill that each of us needs right now.
Right, but none of us know whether we have this skill or not. I think I'm doing okay, but maybe I'm not. So give us sort of the tips and tricks, if you will, for those of us who are all trying to navigate this.
Yep. So what I would say to executives from the C-suite all the way down is that your bottom line is going to depend not just on how you navigate the transition this summer, but the one coming this fall and next year and after that. And since we don't know what they are, the most essential thing that we can do is make sure that all of your employees have the skill set to master transitions, whatever they are. But here's the thing, Andrew, there hasn't been a major book on life transitions in 40 years. In the 80s, companies used to teach this skill. My wife likes to joke that I have hard knowledge about soft skills, and we're here in this moment right now where soft skills are a lot more important. So, for example, when you look at enough transitions as I have done, they turn out to have a structure. Okay, there are 3 phases to transitions. There's the long goodbye, when you sort of say goodbye to the way things used to be. There's this messy middle where you shed certain habits and experiment with new ones, and there's the new beginning. And then within that, there are 7 tools that we can use to make sure this goes more effectively. So what I would say to executives, to anybody listening out there, is you study leadership, you study decision making, you study communication, but how much time are you spending thinking about transitions? So what I've tried to do here is gather in one place not just the history of transitions, and why the old model has become outdated, but really lay out a new model based on data that can help all of us navigate with the situation we're in right now.
So, but there's a lot of us who are stuck in our ways, and maybe we're all living in the messy middle. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, for someone who's stuck in their ways, how do you learn to be more adaptable? Is that a skill, a talent that you can actually learn?
Absolutely. I mean, we study productivity. We study how to make meetings more efficiently. You can actually learn about change. I mean, a lot of this, I watch a lot of CNBC, and we've been talking in the last, 6 months about a V recovery versus a U recovery. And it turns out that recovery is a lot more nonlinear than that. And we've become attached to an old-fashioned way of talking about change. We don't even have a language for it. That's why people are not issuing these guidances right now. Okay, so for many years, we talked about change as being cyclical because that's what farming was. And then we talked about it as being linear because that's what the industrial model was. But we're now in a post-industrial age, and we need a post-industrial way of talking about change. And that begins by saying that the change is going to happen when we least expect it and push us in ways that we don't anticipate. So what can you do is that you can learn the skills. We can make sure that each of us understands that there's a method here. There are habits and takeaways and tools that you can learn. And we all need to be, in effect, kind of masters of transitions. I mean, I'd like to see it almost like a resume item, like I have an MBA, I'm good at marketing, I'm good at transitions. That's how we have to think about this skill.